There are 5 foods that most people reheat every week without a second thought. And for each one, there is a specific, documented chemical or biological process that occurs the second time heat is applied that does not occur the first time. Some of these processes create compounds that are classified as probable carcinogens by major health agencies. Some create bacterial toxins that survive reheating completely intact. Some generate inflammatory compounds that accumulate with repeated exposure. None of this means reheating leftovers will inevitably cause cancer. That claim would be an exaggeration of how risk actually works. But what is not an exaggeration is that these specific foods, reheated in specific ways, create real chemical and biological changes, and understanding those changes is genuinely useful information for anyone who cooks at home. Today we cover what those changes are, the science behind each one, and exactly how to handle each food safely. Food number 1. Fried foods reheated in oil. When cooking oils, particularly polyunsaturated oils like sunflower, corn, and soybean, are heated, they undergo oxidative breakdown. The first heating is manageable. The second heating, particularly if fresh oil is added, accelerates this breakdown dramatically. The compounds produced include aldehydes, specifically 4-hydroxynonenal and malondialdehyde. These are not hypothetical concerns. Research published in peer-reviewed journals has confirmed their presence in reheated cooking oils at concentrations that, with chronic repeated exposure, are associated with oxidative cellular damage and inflammation. Aldehydes are reactive molecules. They bind to proteins and DNA in human cells, disrupting normal cellular function. The liver and pancreas, which are both involved in processing absorbed fats, are particularly exposed to these compounds after consumption of repeatedly heated oil. The risk here is not from reheating fried food once. The risk accumulates with frequency, multiple reheated fried meals per week, over months and years, maintaining a chronic low-grade inflammatory state in organs that handle fat metabolism. Safe practice. Reheat fried food in a dry oven at 180 degrees Celsius or in an air fryer. Dry heat restores texture without generating additional aldehyde compounds. Never add fresh oil to reheat previously fried food. This combines fresh oxidation with existing degraded oil compounds. And cooking oil used for frying should be discarded after one use. Reusing frying oil multiplies the aldehyde concentration with each cycle. Food number 2. Cooked leafy greens. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard, and similar leafy greens contain naturally occurring nitrates. Fresh and properly prepared, these nitrates are harmless. In fact, they are the same compounds that convert to nitric oxide in the body and support cardiovascular health. The problem begins after cooking. When cooked leafy greens are stored, bacteria naturally present in food begin converting nitrates to nitrites. This conversion continues during refrigeration, though more slowly than at room temperature. When these nitrite-containing greens are then reheated, the elevated temperature accelerates a further reaction. Nitrites combine with amino acids present in the food to form nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as probable human carcinogens. They are genotoxic, capable of causing direct damage to DNA within cells. This is established chemistry, not speculation. The critical context: the amount of nitrosamines formed from a single reheating of properly refrigerated cooked greens is small. The concern is with repeated exposure, cooking large batches, refrigerating for multiple days, and reheating repeatedly, which multiplies nitrosamine formation with each heating cycle. Safe practice: cook only what you intend to eat in that meal when possible. If you have leftover cooked greens, eat them cold, added to salads, grain bowls, or wraps, rather than reheating. Cold consumption preserves all nutritional value while producing zero additional nitrosamine formation. If you do reheat, do so once only, thoroughly, and do not refrigerate and reheat again. Food number 3. Cooked rice. Rice carries a specific bacterial risk that most people are completely unaware of, And the mechanism is biologically unusual enough that it surprises even people with general food safety knowledge. Bacillus cereus is a bacterium present in raw rice. Cooking at normal temperatures kills the active bacteria, but Bacillus cereus produces spores, hardened biological structures designed to survive conditions that kill the active bacteria. Standard cooking temperatures do not destroy these spores. When rice cools after cooking, these spores activate. The bacteria multiply rapidly in the temperature range between approximately 10 and 55 degrees Celsius, which is exactly the temperature range of food sitting at room temperature or cooling slowly. During this multiplication, the bacteria produce toxins. Here is the critical detail. One of the primary toxins Bacillus cereus produces is heat-stable. When you microwave the rice the following day, the bacteria themselves are killed. But the toxin they produced during the hours of cooling and storage is not destroyed by reheating. It survives at temperatures that eliminate the living bacteria and enters the digestive system fully intact. This is why rice food poisoning can occur from rice that was reheated and appears perfectly safe. The risk is not the bacteria in the reheated rice, it is the toxin produced before reheating, which reheating cannot remove. At low doses, this does not produce dramatic food poisoning every time. But repeated low-dose exposure to these toxins maintains a state of gut inflammation. The gut and pancreas share blood supply, lymphatic drainage, and inflammatory signaling pathways. Chronic gut inflammation from repeated toxin exposure does reach the pancreas through these connections. Safe practice: cool cooked rice within 1 hour of cooking. Spread it in a shallow, wide container to maximize surface area and speed cooling. Refrigerate promptly. Eat within 24 hours. When reheating, heat thoroughly until steaming hot throughout, not just warm. Never reheat rice more than once, and never return reheated rice to the refrigerator for another cycle. Food number 4, reheated chicken. The danger with reheated chicken is not primarily chemical, it is biological, and it comes from a feature of microwave reheating that most people do not account for. Microwaves heat food by exciting water molecules. Different parts of the same piece of chicken have different water content, density, and fat distribution. This creates uneven heating. Some areas reach temperatures that kill bacteria, while other areas, sometimes just centimeters away, remain significantly cooler. These are called cold spots. Salmonella and Campylobacter are both present in raw poultry at high rates. Proper initial cooking eliminates them, but recontamination after cooking is possible, on hands, utensils, or surfaces. And cold spots in microwave-reheated chicken create warm, moist, protein-rich environments that are not effective at eliminating bacteria that may have been introduced during handling after initial cooking. The external surface of chicken can feel hot to the touch, while internal cold spots remain at temperatures where bacteria not only survive but can actively multiply if the food is left to stand. Repeated low-dose bacterial exposure. Too small to cause obvious food poisoning but sufficient to maintain chronic low-grade gut inflammation is the mechanism of concern for longer-term health impact, particularly on the pancreas through the gut-pancreas inflammatory axis. Safe practice: the most reliable reheating method for chicken is the oven, 175 degrees Celsius, covered tightly with foil to trap moist heat for 15 to 20 minutes. The enclosed moist heat distributes evenly and eliminates cold spots. If using a microwave, cut chicken into small uniform pieces, use medium power rather than maximum, stop halfway to rearrange, and allow 2 full minutes of covered rest after heating ends. Use a food thermometer. The internal temperature should reach 75 degrees Celsius throughout. Cold chicken eaten directly from the refrigerator, shredded into a salad, eliminates all reheating risk entirely. Food number 5, reheated eggs. Eggs carry 2 separate concerns when reheated, one chemical, one biological, making them the food on this list with the most complex risk profile. The biological concern: eggs can harbor salmonella, which survives inadequate initial cooking and can recontaminate properly cooked eggs through handling. The same cold spot issue that affects reheated chicken applies to reheated egg dishes in the microwave. Scrambled eggs, in particular, have uneven density and heat inconsistently. The chemical concern: eggs are rich in protein, and certain amino acids in egg protein, particularly those in the yolk, are susceptible to chemical changes at high temperatures. Reheating eggs at high heat, particularly in a microwave at maximum power, can produce compounds associated with protein oxidation that, with chronic exposure, contribute to oxidative stress in digestive organs. Additionally, the sulfur-containing compounds in eggs can produce sulfuric byproducts when overheated repeatedly, contributing to the gut inflammation cycle discussed with other foods on this list. Safe practice: the simplest approach is to cook eggs fresh. They take 2 to 3 minutes and are always best prepared immediately before eating. If reheating is necessary, use low power in the microwave and heat gently until just warm, not hot. Never reheat eggs more than once. Egg dishes containing other ingredients, quiches, frittatas, egg casseroles, should be reheated in an oven at 165 degrees Celsius for even heat distribution. The underlying principle: chronic inflammation and pancreatic health across all 5 foods. The common thread is chronic low-grade inflammation, produced either by chemical compounds generated through repeated heating or by low-dose biological toxin and bacterial exposure. The pancreas is particularly vulnerable to sustained inflammatory insult for 2 reasons. First, it sits at the center of a dense network of blood supply and lymphatic drainage shared with the gut, liver, and surrounding digestive organs, meaning inflammatory signals from gut disruption reach it directly. Second, it lacks the regenerative capacity of organs like the liver. Pancreatic cells, once damaged, do not replace themselves readily. This does not mean that reheating spinach once will cause pancreatic cancer. Risk does not work that way. What it means is that the accumulation of repeated, low-grade inflammatory exposures across years of daily food preparation habits that most people have never examined contributes to an environment in which the pancreas is chronically under stress. Combined with other risk factors, smoking, family history, metabolic syndrome, heavy alcohol use, these habits add a measurable burden to an organ that silently absorbs that burden without warning. The good news is that the changes required are not dramatic. They are specific, practical, and largely free. The 5 rules to remember: 1. Never reheat fried food in oil. Use a dry oven or air fryer. Discard frying oil after 1 use. 2. Eat cooked leafy greens cold where possible. If reheating, do so once only. 3. Cool cooked rice within 1 hour. Refrigerate promptly. Eat within 24 hours. Reheat once, thoroughly, and discard any remainder. 4. Reheat chicken in the oven, covered, at 175 degrees Celsius. Verify internal temperature reaches 75 degrees throughout. Do not rely on surface temperature. 5. Cook eggs fresh where possible. If reheating, use low heat, gently and only once. None of these rules require cooking differently from scratch. They require understanding what happens chemically and biologically the second time heat touches specific foods, and making the small targeted adjustments that eliminate the main sources of risk. If this gave you a clearer picture of the actual science behind food reheating safety, without exaggeration, but also without the vagueness that makes most food safety advice easy to ignore, please share it with someone who would benefit from the same clarity. Subscribe for more evidence-based health content that prioritizes accuracy and practical application. We will see you in the next one.